The world of AI is moving at a dizzying speed, right? So what's it actually going to look like in just a couple of years? Well, today we're jumping ahead to 2026 to break down the 8 biggest trends that are really set to define our future. Let's jump right in.
So really, how is AI going to reshape our world in such a short time? It's not going to be one single magical breakthrough. It's actually a whole set of powerful, interconnected trends all happening at once. And understanding these is really the key to seeing where we're all headed.
All right, we're going to tackle this in 4 main parts. First up, we'll look at how AI is going from being a solo act to a full-on collaborative team. Then, we're going to see how it's literally breaking out of our screens and stepping into the physical world. After that, we'll dig into why it's so critical to build AI that we can trust and that's super fast. And finally, we'll pop the hood and see how the very hardware of computing is being totally rebuilt for this new AI-first world.
Okay, our first big theme, the AI team, is here. We're moving way beyond this idea of a single, all-knowing AI. The future, it turns out, is all about collaborative systems where specialized AIs work together. And that brings us to our very first trend.
This idea is called multi-agent orchestration. So instead of one genius AI working all alone, I want you to picture a super efficient project team. You've got a whole crew of specialized AI agents, right? Each one has a very specific skill, and they're all working together on a complex goal, guided by a kind of project manager AI that keeps everyone on track.
And here's basically how that team operates. First, you've got a planner agent. Its job is to take a big, hairy goal and break it down into small, manageable steps. Then, a bunch of specialized worker agents get to it. One might be a coder, another might be an expert at searching databases, and finally, and this part is absolutely crucial, a critic agent comes in to evaluate all the work, flagging any issues. It's a system with quality control baked right in from the start.
So, what happens when you take these AI teams and you scale them up? Like, way up? Well, you get something much, much bigger. Our second trend, an entire digital labor workforce. We're moving beyond just one-off tasks and into a world of truly autonomous digital workers.
These digital workers, they can understand a complex task, run a whole workflow, and plug directly into business systems to actually get things done. But, and this is a big but, they aren't just running wild. They're enhanced by a human in the loop. That's you, that's us, providing essential oversight, course correction, and strategic guidance. This creates an incredible force multiplying effect. Just imagine an agent drafting a complex financial report, which frees up a human analyst to focus on strategy instead of just crunching numbers. It's all about extending what we're capable of. All right, our second theme takes AI out of the digital box and beyond the screen, which brings us to our third big trend. For years, AI has lived inside computers, dealing with text and pixels. But by 2026, it's going to be increasingly able to understand and actually interact with our physical world.
This slide really says it all, doesn't it? Old-school robotics was all about rigid, hand-coded rules. If you see an obstacle, turn left. Physical AI completely flips that script. Instead of being programmed, it learns by training in these super realistic 3D simulations, and this gives it an almost intuitive grasp of physics, letting it interact with objects in a much more human-like way, like knowing exactly how to pick up an egg without crushing.
So what's the magic behind all this? It's a technology called a World Foundation Model. It's basically a generative model, but instead of making text or images, it understands 3D space. It can actually predict what's going to happen next in a physical scene. So if a ball rolls off a table, it knows it's going to fall. That predictive power is what's finally getting robotics out of the lab and into the real world.
Now, this blending of the physical and digital worlds, it leads us to our fourth trend, a shared AI fabric. I mean, look at this web of connections. We're talking about a world where people and AI agents can work together seamlessly, understanding each other's intentions and sharing context without needing to explain everything all the time. This shared space just makes collaboration effortless. Information flows freely, which creates a much deeper, more effective understanding between us and our AI counterparts. And the result is this kind of emergent collective intelligence, almost like a real-world version of swarm computing you see in nature, where the whole system is way smarter than any single individual part. Okay, for AI to become this deeply integrated into our lives, a couple of things are just completely non-negotiable. We have to be able to trust it, and it has to be fast. So our third section is going to dive into the absolute need for both governance and speed, covering our next 2 trends. A massive driver of this change, and this is our 5th trend, is regulation.
By mid-2026, the EU AI Act is going to be fully in effect. And, just like GDPR became the global standard for data privacy, this act is really poised to create the blueprint for AI governance for the whole world, forcing companies to make their AI systems auditable and traceable. And this regulation really stands on three core pillars. First, documentation. You've got to prove you've tested your models and managed the risks. Second, transparency. You have to know when you're talking to an AI versus a human. And third, data lineage. Companies have to show where their training data came from and prove their respected copyright. These are really the fundamental building blocks of trust.
Now, let's talk about the speed part, our sixth trend. We're all used to cloud AI, right? Where every single request has to travel all the way to some massive data center and back. Well, the trend is shifting hard toward reasoning at the edge. This means smaller, yet really powerful, AI models are going to run directly on your phone or your laptop. This not only kills lag for real-time performance, but it also gives a huge boost to your privacy.
And the bottom line is just this simple. With Edge AI, your data never leaves your device. I mean, think about it. For anything that needs an instant response or involves sensitive personal info, having a model that can think locally is a total game changer.
All right, finally, let's go under the hood for our last two trends. Because none of these incredible advances are possible without a complete revolution in the computing fabric itself. We are literally rebuilding the hardware and software that power our world specifically for the demands of AI. And that brings us to our seventh trend, something called amorphous hybrid computing. Forget about a one-size-fits-all approach. Think of this more like a super intelligent system that automatically sends the right part of an AI task to the best possible chip for that specific job, constantly optimizing for performance and efficiency. It's all about using the right tool for the right job automatically. And for our eighth and final trend, on the software side of things, the AI models themselves are also evolving like crazy. We're moving beyond the pure transformer architecture that really kicked off this whole generative AI boom. New designs are popping up that mix in different elements, like state space models, which are fantastic at handling really long sequences of data, to create models that are way more specialized and efficient.
And of course, the hardware landscape is getting incredibly diverse to handle all these new models. It's not just about CPUs and GPUs anymore. Now we have specialized chips like TPUs, we've got brain-inspired neuromorphic chips, and yeah, as we're about to see, even quantum processing units, or QPUs, are finally entering the chat. By 2026, we'll very likely hit a huge milestone called quantum utility. This is the point where quantum computers stop being a cool science experiment and become a practical tool, working right alongside our classical computers to solve problems in areas like optimization and material simulation that were just impossible before. So to wrap up our trip to 2026, AI is morphing from a single tool into a whole team of collaborators. It's stepping out of the digital world and into our physical one. Trust and on-device speed are becoming absolute top priorities. And holding it all together, the very fabric of computing is being re-engineered for an AI-first world.
We've covered the major trends that we can already see on the horizon. But that leaves one last big question. What's the trend that nobody is talking about yet? What's the development that's going to come out of left field and surprise us all in 2026? Thanks for joining me on this look into the future.